I think that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor worked with other countries, very closely with other countries, to provide a fiscal stimulus on a worldwide basis at a time when the economy, the worldwide economy, was in real danger of collapse and depression. And I think that they worked very effectively so that that moment passed. There's a big rebuilding job still to do on that, but I do think that the work that Gordon Brown did with major leaders across the globe, France, Germany, United States, was hugely important at that particular time. And I think that when the history books come to be written, I think the scale of the threat that was around, if the wrong decisions had been made at that time, will be appreciated. Confidence is hugely important. So the first thing is that we mustn't talk down the UK economy. We do things very well in the UK. There's always some things that we can do better. But you know, we're the best place in Europe to do business. We're very competitive on a worldwide stage too. And we have huge capacity for innovation within the UK. Not only were we the first industrial nation, but I see myself on a day-to-day basis in my job the innovation that's happening in our universities, that is happening in collaborations between industry and university. So the UK has a tremendous reputation abroad. I'm fortunate I've been to Germany and discussed that with colleagues in Germany. Our cultural innovation is virtually unparalleled across the world. So I think that we need to promote the UK, say it's a great place to do business, and to encourage more people to take that first step and move into business themselves. I think we need to do more, and that's why in the budget the Chancellor talked about extra funding of £94 million into creating agreed budgets for banks to lend money. We hear in our constituencies, as an individual MP, I've heard this, that the banks are not lending enough. They are lending more, and we're beginning to see in the profits figures from the banks that they're moving back into the black. But we need to ensure that fair banking is reasserted in the UK. That's why we're looking at having an adjudicator to back up the decisions that are being made by banks on lending, and to make sure that business has the support that it needs from the private sector. I think that the risk taking in the United States is something that we could look to, and I think that is where the US reputation comes from. We introduced in the Enterprise Act 2003 a different approach to bankruptcy and insolvency, so that we tried to remove some of the stigma of failing. I think there was for very many years a real perception that if someone had failed in business, that was some kind of moral stigma for someone in the UK. I don't think that impression exists to the same extent in the United States. But as always in these things, it's a question of balance, because of course we know that the source of some of the financial problems on a worldwide basis was in the United States, and we need the correct regulatory environment too. So it's really a question of striking the right balance. I think we can learn some things from the US, but I think they can learn some things from us too. We know that we have to have a regulatory structure that gives us an accurate picture of financial commitments. I mentioned the United States and the financial position and the balance sheets that were in existence in the United States at the time that the recession started. I don't think they were an accurate reflection of the real economy, and I think that the regulatory framework going forward needs to ensure that changes. We need to have an accurate picture of the real economy from the financial records that we have, that the auditors prepare, that accountants prepare, and I think that was a major failing of the system at the time. We also need to work on an international basis. It's very, very clear from the way that the world economy now operates, and we've seen that massively in this recession, that what happens on the other side of the world has an instant and immediate impact right across the planet. So we need to cooperate with our partners and devise solutions that work on a worldwide basis. It's inevitable, for example, in the field of regulation, that government sets parameters within business must work. An obvious example of that is financial affairs, Another example is, for example, green matters, environmental regulation. So parameters, clear parameters for business are important for business to work within. It's also important that business has a framework within which government operates, and a very clear framework that government sets out. I think that we see government's role not as creating wealth, but as creating the conditions within which individual enterprises and businesses create wealth. There are some things that businesses won't do and government can do. That is, for example, provide the levels of training through our university system, through our college system, that provides individuals who can take forward businesses. And government has a real role to play in those areas. I think the government also needs to get involved in overall industrial strategy as a facilitator, as a forum within which business can work together with perhaps competitor companies to actually take forward an industry. A good example of that within the UK is the UK Automotive Council, set up by government, which I co-chair, and which provides for a framework within which international automotive companies, Nissan, BMW, JLR, work together in areas of common interest to take forward the UK industry. That couldn't happen without the involvement of government, and that's a positive for the British automotive industry. We're the first in the world to have achieved that, and other countries now flocking to follow us.